Alright. Oh, and, the spooky music to go with the opening. Be spooky, Quinn.
Ooh.
Where's that vamping? So Quinn is with us this week, and he's gonna help us talk about chapters 4.7 and 4.8. And let's see here. Just now getting the link into the chat for the Discord. Okay. Okay, 2 plus 4 times 5 is here. And 2 plus 4 times 5, I just want to let you know, because you're a spicy chatter. I've already gone to live chat just to make sure that I see all the premium moments. And then we've got Vale showing up. So we got a couple people. I know that M won't be here. I don't think that that Vic's gonna be here because out of town kind of thing.
Oh, that's right.
But we still got this lovely art. So
We still got something out of her.
Yes. Yes, Greg, the reminder. Okay. I wanted to, another reminder, the audience participation reminder. This is discuss what happens to Park Ji-hoo and the significance of that moment in the story. Yeah, I mean, they look tough because they're costume boots. They look great, Vale, but because, they had to fit the theme and they had to fabricate them today, they're like, super lightweight tinker material, and knives just go right through them. What am I talking about? Knives and boots. So the themes for this week, I think, escalation of violence is just the front and center main theme. Quinn, you there? I haven't heard from you, in ages. I think you might have been muted this whole time.
Ah, indeed I was.
Okay, wow.
Nice. I didn't say much anyway, so it's okay. But
Cool.
but yeah, I agree. Escalation of violence definitely fits the themes. I would say so.
The Phantom Quinn appears.
Yes, I was hiding in the shadows.
Yeah, that's your parahuman's power.
Yeah, I'm like Gru, but slightly different.
But slightly different. Crocs with cosplay edition, got it. And then we got really should have shelled out for those steel-toed Bomberman boots. Oh my god, you're right. Baku is definitely wearing Crocs. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm sure that there's themes in these chapters, but my brain didn't really pull them out. I was just like, this is straight, early action with, pretty cool prose the more I look back at it,
Yeah, it's like themes are like blowing stuff up. That's like the main thing I picked out of it.
They're always on the run. They're always, on their heels this whole time, but I feel like that's just, a regular, it's a turning point where they're building lots of tension for the next 2 chapters after these 2. So, obviously that's just kind of natural with the way you would set it up. Not really a theme per se. But they really do escalate. She's getting, badly hurt just by being in the proximity of attacks. Yeah, themes, bomb, and explosion. Guess what? Well, Yeah, do you want to start us off a little bit? I know I wrote a crazy lot on this chapter and not that much on the next chapter, but you know.
It's okay. We'll make it work. um, yeah, but so yeah, kind of we start out from the chapter starts, and Gru is doing as he does, covering the area in darkness, trying to give them some sort of like shield or some way to counteract Bakuda from going completely insane and killing them all. Um, and yeah, Taylor is just thinking about just the amount of people on the ABB that are against them, and kind of just how stacked the odds are,
Yeah, for
and how
sure.
yeah, like she's just like, Jesus Christ, like this is gonna be quite the fight for all of us here.
Yeah, she thinks about how, like, given how many there are, they could just, like, stumble forward as a group and find the Undersiders despite the darkness. So she kind of thinks that the only real advantage it gives them is that they won't get shot at as much by, like, guys with guns. But I think it's probably, like, the only reason they have enough time to get over the roof of the storage locker. Like, I think this is another clutch play by Gru. Like, just constant. Um, I think it's his power is easy to underestimate. I think.
Yeah, I definitely underestimated when I first like learned about it. I was like, it's just like darkness. I was like, well, what's he gonna like do with that? But then as I like been reading it more, I'm like, okay, like I'm starting to see, like the applications of it.
Yeah, yeah. It's like he makes crazy plays with it constantly, and like you'll get some treats in the next couple chapters as well. The ones you haven't read yet.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Vale says it is interesting to me. Lisa's the exposition character. Bakuda purposely shuts her up to tell a new and different story than Murder's Park. Then the story continues. Just a tiny comment, but seems pretty cool. So that's um yeah, huh.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like how they do that.
I'll bring that. I'll try and remember to circle back to that when we're on 2.8 and sort of expand on that. I think that is interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way before. Anyway, uh, so yes, Gru tries to grab Taylor by the waist to hoist her onto the storage locker roof, but initially, she thinks he's like an enemy and tries to swat at him with her baton. He gets out of the way in time, and then he grabs her with a more gentle hold at first, and she knows it's him, so she apologizes into the darkness, remembering that he can hear sounds that are blocked by his darkness.
Yeah, and then they get onto the roof, and Taylor helps Regent Tattletale and everyone get up onto the roof. And then a few seconds later, they have Gru climb up also with the help of Taylor. So yeah, just kind of group working together, I'll get them all on the roof. And yeah, so the four of them get on the roof, and then they climb down onto the next row, and they see that there are ABB members at both ends who have not noticed them, and they still have the veil of darkness, kind of keeping them out of sight and keeping them quiet, so they are able to kind of plan ahead before just rushing into it.
Mm-hmm. I realized that the chat auto changes emojis like from emoticons, and then I made one that I didn't think it would do. Sorry, I was interacting with the
Oh,
chat while you were talking.
you're
Um,
good.
just stuff that didn't seem worth saying aloud, but um, anyway, continue. Sorry.
You're good. Um, Yeah, so then Taylor begins to verbalize sort of what we saw her thinking last chapter also, which is something I also kind of was thinking about, and how she was like, there are way more ABB here than there supposed to be in that entire game based off the intel that they had, um, that they were working with. And then yeah, Gru kind of, uh, sort of has like the same sort of plan or same sort of idea, saying like, ABB should not have that many members, and Tattletale's just like, yeah, well, they do now. You know, she's just like, yeah, well, this is how it is. Like, whatever. It's not what we were expecting, but we'll just have to deal with it. Um,
Yeah, in a very, concise way of just 3 words, because then she says, "Trap, down," and then Tattletale focuses on, like, getting Taylor safe, and then gets to cover. Because, that's how she be. And then, the lone guy at the end of the alleyway fades and shimmers, and then it was a Tinker illusion this whole time. It was an illusion, Michael. And now it's gone, and it's like an obvious Tinker bomb on the ground from Bakuda. And then, your note here. Pretty apt.
Simple note.
Yeah.
Bakuda's crazy. Blowing up lots.
Yeah. And then, this is the first of, like, many bombs that she has, and they all kind of do different stuff. This one, I'm not sure if it has a gimmick or not. It seems pretty straightforward, just regular big explosion, but somehow it doesn't totally liquefy their organs.
Yeah.
That's the real power of the Bakuda bomb.
The liquidation.
Well, the lack of liquidation of their organs. I mean,
yeah.
like, legit, I feel like, probably, I don't know. I don't know exactly, but it seems like explosions do tons of internal organ damage whenever they happen, and that's just, like, not expressed very well in media.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to be near an explosion.
No. Who would? Who amongst us would?
Who amongst us? Anyway, you wanna?
Yeah, and so the just for once normal bomb that Bakuda has, kind of just turns several lockers into just rubble, just blowing everything the absolute fuck up. Not like it just kind of sounds, just like storage locker stuff. So it wasn't even like, it didn't sound like, just like, a general bomb. It just kind of sounded like, random like metal lockers, random factory sounds, I guess. So like it wasn't too obvious, I guess, what was going on to just like an outsider looking in.
Well, I think they're just far enough away, because remember, they had to, like, take the last bus stop and then walk from there, kind of thing.
Oh, true. I forgot about that.
But the main thing I'm thinking, like, I just thought it was interesting that the stuff that got destroyed was just, like, regular stuff that you'd see in, like, a regular person's storage locker or whatever. It wasn't like, there's no illicit materials, there's no, like, weird thing. It's just, like, kind of some furniture and boxes with paperwork. I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Sort of, like, general things.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so Gru, he's the first to kind of jump back to his feet, kind of checks in with the rest of the group, and Tattletale says that he got burnt, and starts questioning sort of how Bakuda is able to set these, traps and have all of her people, like, into position properly. And she was only, like, a half an hour ahead of them, like, so she
yeah, they had planned to be there a little bit earlier, but only a half hour earlier. And, like, theoretically, they had found the place by catching Bitch earlier. So they only had however much time from when they found Bitch to when the Undersiders got here total. And that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I want to address the chat real quick. Greg said, certainly not near an explosion strong enough to lift you off the ground. I do love little explosions, though. And then Vale said, Bakuda with a heroic nature would be so fun to try to write. She has one of those powers that's kind of difficult to appear a hero. I think there's lots of stuff she could do to make non-lethal bombs. Like, we even see one by the end of this fight that is, like, really, really effective. And I think if she did more stuff like that, her power set could be, as minimally lethal as any given parahuman.
Yeah, I think she could do some pretty cool stuff as a hero, and that would be interesting to see, kind of a different side of her.
Yeah. And then, getting back to the thing, Gru starts to get them moving, and right as he's telling Tattletale to look out for Bakuda, Bakata already arrives with like 8 henchmen. A few of these guys seem out of place in her entourage, though, from Taylor's perspective. A middle-aged man and a teen younger than Taylor. So Bakata attempts to like start up a monologue, and then Gru blankets the area in darkness mid-sentence, as he so often does, and they start to make their escape once again. And this was, I thought, as good a time as any to bring it up, but I don't really like the effect they have for her voice in the audiobook for the main one. I usually do like the stuff they have, so I like Gru and some of the later on people who have voice effects that they use. But this one just kind of didn't sound to me how they described it. So I always get kind of distracted trying to think about how it would sound as they describe as a monotone hiss. And I'm not even fully sure if I'm imagining right, but my main imagination of it is like the Ed 209 from RoboCop, but with Bakuda dialogue.
Hmm.
And I think that'd be pretty funny, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I also am not like a super big fan of kind of how she sounds. It's just like I mean, it's serviceable, and I guess like I kind of see where they're coming from with it, but yeah, to me, I was just like, this just kind of sounds like a little like too much. I guess it's like trying to like go on with it.
It feels like there's tons of modulation on the audiobook version, and that's, in my mind, the opposite of monotone.
Right? Yeah.
But anyway, there aren't that many total chapters with her in them, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Do you want to continue from here?
What? So yes, they run to escape, and Taylor hears a noise and immediately realizes something's wrong because the darkness should not have made that noise happen at all. So she checks behind her, and they see that the next set of bombs go off all at once, like they're running against a powerful headwind. Um, I really liked kind of how they said that. How it was like a powerful headwind. Um,
Well,
they're
I
running.
like the idea that it just like was sudden, like the gravity well started like in like some instant, and it was just like on, and then they were dealing with it. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I really like kind of how that whole scenario played out. Um, and yeah, this is where Taylor starts to see kind of her bomb. And she realizes that it's all being pulled to the center of it, how it's sort of like a gravity bomb. Even Gru's darkness is being sucked in by
Hmm.
this
Hmm.
little gravity bomb. So she makes a leap for the door, misses the doorknob, and then she even misses the next one, and so she's getting like constantly pulled in by this thing.
And she's going pretty fast at that point, so
Yeah,
she takes a one of her big risky moments. I mean, it definitely works, but it feels a little over the top. I had written here. It's a bit of an over the top action moment, but she takes her combat knife slash crowbar and two hand full body movement stabs the knife into an old wooden door. Um, it's very I don't know. I'm trying to think of a character who would do that. It's like an anime thing.
yeah, no, I can totally like see like just because like I've seen like animes and stuff where they do stuff like that, so I can totally imagine like what's going on. But I'm like, hmm.
It's like in Samurai Jack when he's falling down that mountain and then he stabs the sword and then it like infinitely like pulls and it's going through all this rock and then it
Uh-huh.
stops and it just ends with Hero Taylor. By day, they're the worst stand-up comic duo in the city. By night, they fight crime. Least likely worm premise by an alternate universe. Wildbow. And then Greg said, would have been funny to use a stock text to speech voice for her. Microsoft Sam Bakudo would be a riot. Yeah,
That would like almost make more sense to me if it was like Microsoft Sam or something.
yeah. But I think it's here we are.
Oh. But yeah, Taylor is still being pulled away, even with the knife in the door. Kind of, I mean, it's been slowed down a little bit, but she's definitely still being pulled. Um, and she kind of, falls towards the bomb. and then she's this time she's ready to grab the next doorknob. That's only a
Yeah,
few feet away.
I got the impression that it's like before she fell the equivalent of like 15 or 20 feet, but like in this moment she fell like 2 feet, so she wasn't falling fast enough that she couldn't grab the doorknob anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then the effect stops like suddenly, just like it started suddenly, and then Regent had grabbed the like onto part of the roof that like the metal bent, and then like she's not sure if it bent because he was holding it or it bent beforehand, but then Tattletale and Gru come out of one of the doors, and Gru had like hurt his leg kicking open that door.
Poor Gru.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, something I just put here, just that I thought was kind of cool, was just how Taylor kind of likened the bomb to a miniature black hole, which I
Mm-hmm.
think kind of just shows the extreme power of Bakuda.
Yeah, yeah, and like I feel like the extreme like variable nature that we see even in this chapter, and then we'll see more in the next two chapters because it's kind of just like tons of new stuff over and over again. She likes to mix it up.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, so Tattletale thinks that Taylor's right. She says she guesses, and then it seems like she's gonna explain what the bomb does, like how she usually explains stuff. But then, as that starts, another Tinker Bomb just lands in the middle of the group, and Gru like punts it into the locker and that they had just come out of, and then he like runs toward them and is like flapping his arms at them like go. Um, but yeah, they all run. And I think this is a really good example of the action and destruction in this chapter. The writing. Do you want to take this section and read the excerpt I pulled?
Yes. Um, Even with a brick and concrete in the way, the blast, knocked us off our feet. That wasn't the scary part. As the initial blast passed, the remainder of the explosion seemed to happen in slow motion. Shattered chunks of the brick's shack drifted through the air so slowly you could barely tell they were moving. As I watched, I could see them actually slowing down. Then I looked forward, and I saw plumes of smoke in fast motion, and rubble bouncing across the ground at twice the normal speed. Just 10 feet ahead of us, it took me a precious second to realize why. We were still in the blast area.
Yep, yep. And then they actually Taylor and Tattletale are the like equally fast to yell to keep moving and stuff. Taylor pretty much matches the reaction time of either Gru or Tattletale, whoever's faster, in each given situation for like this whole fight. It's pretty like impressive. She's always super on the ball.
Yeah, she's definitely like on her feet and just like 110% there for this fight.
So they managed to stumble out of the effect, but however long they were stuck in there, because it probably was longer than, like it was probably at least several seconds longer for the outside than it was for them in the slow time, then Bakuda is able to launch 3 more shots at them over the, like, because it's like alleyways of brick lockers with like a wooden door, and then I think like a garage door style metal door. Like I think that what we're seeing in the Vic drawing over here, which I haven't like drawn attention to the art yet because it's from the next chapter, but it is, I think that we would see probably a wooden door per metal door, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Just it's kind of hard to visualize this place. That is one thing that I think is a little weird cuz I don't think I've ever been in like a brick like storage place before, you know what I mean? They're always like metal prefab in this area, so I've just never seen anything like what's being
Yeah.
described. I've kind of seen it in like a show, I think, but
Right.
like it
And
was
like that's
like
where I'm at.
old New York where it's like a crappy brick factory. So like I believe that there are places like this. I just don't have any experience like around them or whatever. So
Yeah, so like in my own head, like I kind of imagine how it looks, and I'm like, I think it's like this, but I'm not like for sure. So that was one thing that made it like a little weird, or it took me like a little time to kind of think about like what the place would look like when I was reading the chapter. I was
yeah,
like, well, this is like kind of weird for me to envision,
for
but
sure. I mean,
I feel like I have an idea.
I think another thing that I'm realizing as I talk about it is it's because it's close to a real thing that we're used to in our like normal lives, like storage units and whatever. Like we just have been around those because
Hmm.
it's just regular here. And then uh, for like more fantastical settings, maybe it's easier to imagine because it's like brand new and has to be explained more.
Right,
So yeah, maybe
that
that's
makes
it.
sense.
Anyway, I have been going on and on. Where were we?
I think we were here-ish.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I wasn't 100% sure. Oh, wait.
Um,
Did we even say this? No, no, yeah, we did. Okay, yeah, yeah.
okay, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, so our main little group of misfits here get over the locker into another good show of teamwork. We love to see that. And they find more ABB members, surprise, surprise, that Taylor suspects are more of the holograms rather than the ABB people. As she seems to kind of slowly be catching on, like, okay, maybe there's not as many as I originally thought. Maybe it's just like all the holograms or whatever.
and there's still a
Um,
ton of them. That's
there's still a
also
lot of
true,
them,
but
yeah.
they're like also masking. They're overblowing it. I think that Bakuta's pretty good with like psychology of her enemy and like the idea that she would trick people. She'd be like, I'll overwhelm them with numbers, and then once they're totally caught off guard and expecting anything could be possible, then I'll add in these fake guys to like pad things out further.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and that's definitely the vibe I got from her. She kind of reminds me of like Lelouch from Code Geass almost, kind of just like these like weird kind of tactics. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of a funny way to do it. Um, but yeah, and the guys, the AVB guys, kind of like don't notice them again,
and
which
yeah,
kind
that's
of
what
moves
kind of
her.
tips Taylor off.
Yeah, she's like, okay, like this doesn't make any sense. Like,
Yeah. So
um,
they don't risk going anywhere near another planted bomb under like the possible holograms, so they just go over another row of lockers again. And then you had your dealy bop here.
yeah, and then here comes Taylor judging people again. She ran into a group of ABB people, and she had mentioned how only a few of them looked like stereotypical thugs. The rest kind of just looking like, like normal people that you would just like see on the street. Which I see what she means, like by stereotypical thugs. And yeah, she just kind of finds it interesting that there's like just a weird kind of group or selection of people,
Mm-hmm.
kind of all there working together.
And there's like obvious like tension in the ranks as well, because there's like an old man who points a gun at them because he's like been given the gun or whatever, but he doesn't shoot at them, even with the ABB guy yelling at him to shoot. And then Tattletale says,
Yeah, Telltale says that they're scared, not loyal. Which I think is a perfect way to sum up kind of basically everyone who works under Boston.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, for sure. And then Tattletale kind of explains that Bakuta's been forcing people to join the ABB, and then she thinks Bakuta's probably threatening their families. But then Gru says that she must have been working at this for a while, and Tattletale confirms, says that she's been setting this up since Lung was arrested. Um,
Yeah,
and
that's a while.
Well, the thing is, if you think about it, it seems like a while from our perspective, but in the story, it's only been 1 week. Like,
Ah, I
it's
guess,
only
yeah.
been as long as the song, it's been. Yeah, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's kind of crazy that she did all this in a week from
Yeah.
my perspective.
No, yeah, I mean, I would not be able to get this done in a week, so. um, yeah, so the group, they kind of all get together and they try and plan one more time together before being interrupted. And
Yeah, I
do you
had
want to do this part? So
Yeah. I had wanted to highlight another little bit of writing here because I think this chapter does a great job of keeping up the tension in like a desperate feeling of the fight. Um, and then so before we could put the plan into motion, there was another explosion. We staggered into the front wall of the storage locker we'd just climbed down from, collapsing in a heap. My entire body felt hot. My ears were ringing, and we hadn't even been that close. Um, and it's pretty crazy stuff. Oh,
yeah,
we
it's
got
crazy stuff.
2 plus 4 times 5. Continuing the song I started. And then Greg says, Bucket is a go-getter, really trying to earn that A, but you won't like her when she doesn't make the grade.
I don't like her when she gets the A, and I don't like her when she doesn't get it.
Yeah. 2 plus 4 times 5. Apparently my stream was delayed by like 30 seconds. Yeah. There can be a long delay between the chat and stuff. It's kind of sad. I wish it wasn't so much, but, what are you going to do?
Exactly.
I actually have it on the settings so that it's the ultra low latency, so my video quality is not very good and doesn't keep up well, but I'm like, it's almost always static images, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
And then
yes. Do you want me to keep reading, or do you want to take this little bit?
yeah, I'll take this a bit. But yeah, as soon as that little explosion happens, or not so little, they are able to see Bakuda through a section of lockers that she had just bombed, and she's got a fancy new whip sitting on that Jeep. She's riding her okay, like total badass. Taylor's eardrums still ringing from the explosion, but kind of keeping herself on track. And tries to get some bugs on the Jeep just so they can so Taylor can kind of keep like tabs on her, because they want to definitely know where Bakuda's going at all times, given what's already happened.
For sure. And then Bakuda tries to herd them into a trap, and Gru sees through the whole thing. It's kind of a team effort because first Taylor's like, oh, I know where she's going. She's like circling around, so we can't go over this thing that Tattletale wants to go over. And then next, Regent throws out ideas for what to do, including like using his power on her. But Gru's like, we can't. Even if she misses, she'll like explode us.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty accurate.
Yeah, because that's the good thing about her power is that she doesn't really need to be, crazy accurate.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so Gru, he's just like, okay, he's like, well, best thing I say we do is just kind of backtrack where we just came from, and try and find like a different route because there's no way we're gonna make it going through this way. And yeah, Taylor's not like a huge fan of the idea, but she doesn't like verbalize it, and she's like, I don't really see, I don't have anything else to add or anything else we could do, so I'm not gonna put up a stink. But she's not like a big fan of the idea.
Yeah, it just feels very. I think that she's worried about being trapped, which I would be too. So
yeah, there's not really a good decision they can make in this kind of scenario. Just slightly not as bad decisions, really.
right, yeah. So they feel a series of explosions go off in the darkness that Gru had left behind them, and then Taylor thinks, I guess you didn't need to see if you could hit that hard. And then they go into the alleyway where one of the bombs had already went off. They're trying to like circle back through the rubble, which is a pretty good plan. But the problem is there's so many enemies, and then they appear.
Yeah, Yeah, so many enemies that now the real, not holographic ABB people were ready for them with guns ready. And same sort of deal. Taylor notices that it's groups of all sorts of people, not just like game-looking members, just
Yeah, she
old
says
men.
there's like even college students and stuff who just look like really normie.
Yeah, and they have various weapons, crowbar, pipe. One guy has like a sword, like just kind of just things they could find. Like they're not like super like well equipped. It seems.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and yeah, Bakuda sitting there with her little grenade launcher, and then I like how they kind of just end the chapter with her being like checkmate.
Yeah, yeah. Defeated. And yeah, it can be kind of hard to summarize action sometimes without it just being like step
This
by
is what happened.
stepping through the whole thing. But I think I'm trying to. I'm still working on the balance, but I think I did an okay job with that. I mean, yeah, still working on it.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, especially this chapter, just because like we were saying before earlier, it's like kind of hard to imagine like the area, and then like it's like these new powers going off, so it's like a bunch, or at least new for me. But it's like a bunch of stuff trying to kind of like wrap my head around. I was like, okay, so this is happening. Okay, got it. But yeah, I think we did a pretty decent job.
Yeah, and then this one, the next chapter. Unfortunately, I did not write hardly anything. I was a little behind this week. So as I am every week. So don't worry. It's always going
It's
to be
okay.
half-assed. um, but I think that we can start off here, and I think you should kick it off with your own newt.
Yeah, so start of next chapter. They're all cornered by Bakuda and the ABB. And this is where Taylor, she's like, man, this is like where I really like miss kind of having Bitch on her team.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, if they had Bitch in this scenario, it would be quite a bit different, I believe. And then here's a little kind of quote that was pulled. Um, all of this, Tattletale spoke very carefully. You were toying with us. It's why you didn't have your people shoot us from the start. So yeah, and it kind of goes to show that Bakuda was, playing with them, sort of, as you were saying, like very psychological kind of fighter in the sense that she likes to kind of instill fear in them before she would like to kill someone, or maybe she wants to recruit them, whatever she plans to do.
I also think it's
Um,
important to remember that this isn't just to like defeat the Undersiders. It's like to solidify her rep with the city and to solidify her rep with the people she's like press ganged into working for her. It's not a pirate ship, but I'm still gonna say press ganged.
right. I mean, it's kind of like what she's doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Bakuda taking the initiative here immediately realizes that Tattletale is kind of not like her biggest enemy, but the Tattletale is definitely kind of like the
She's like really
information bearer.
dangerous. Well, I don't think she knows. So she doesn't know what she does. But whenever you don't know what someone does, you just like take full precautions because powers don't really have a limit to how powerful they can be.
Yeah. Um yeah, so she just like has someone like immediately train a gun on her and she's like if she talks again, kill her. Like she's not taking any precautions. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool cuz Tattletale is usually someone they rely on a lot. So now she's just been, completely cut out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was gonna say too. So this circles back to what Vale had said earlier about. So Lisa's the exposition character normally, and Bakuda purposely shuts her up to tell a new and different story than Murder's Park. Then the story continues, and yeah, I think that she's trying to like get her own, um, get her own like momentum going in the same type of thing that Tattletale does. and like use this as like a PR victory, basically. um, and she, I think Bakuda is she's smart to do something like she doesn't just threaten Tattletale when she says to shoot if Tattletale talks. She says to shoot their whole group if Tattletale talks. I don't know if you caught that or not.
I did not.
But yeah, I thought that was an important like distinction. So I think like Tattletale might have gone on and like risked it if it was just her, but not the whole set. And then let's see here. Okay, so 2 + 4 × 5 said, yeah, Bakuda is definitely more focused on her theatrics and not so much on the Undersiders. I think, yeah, for sure. And that's why she thinks that she can get away with like doing that because she has so many people like with trained guns on them, etc. Vale says, I think what I was saying was there's a bit of meta-contextual. The interaction fits the story and the characters perfectly, but I also found the underlying effect of the interaction really neat. Yeah. No, I agree. And I'm thinking of, like, the characters as story elements. Like, Bakuda, the bomber, literally, like, blows up the status quo of the entire city in the next, like, 3 chapters or whatever from here on. Yeah, so I think that it, metaphorically, meta-contextually, whatever words does fit in that way also with the characters as story elements, and she does what she needs to do, and then she's basically like not that important to the story after that, other than the lingering psychological effects that she has on Taylor whenever Taylor thinks back to like how to interact with people and thinks of like the fear stuff. Then also Bakuda is great. Then she will have, Taylor will not forget this.
Yeah, I don't think I would forget this either. So I mean,
yeah.
So yeah, it definitely seems like a very traumatic event.
And then Vale had said, if you consider the characters as story elements during the review and discussion, sometimes cool things will come out of it. Story and writing elements. Yep, I agree. So always feel free to point them out, because like there's going to be times like today where I don't really like necessarily notice the themes, and I'm just like, the theme is escalation.
Explosions.
Explosion! Bakuda is the plot twist. Yeah. It's actually Violence World. More like Bad Kuda, am I right? Distant explosion.
Oh no, he's gone.
If you want to take back over I was talking for a bit. I'm not quite sure where.
Yeah, I think we just did that. But so yeah, Bakudo is kind of just keeping Tattletale in check, just in case. A thing Bakudo brings up, which is kind of, to me at least, from what we do know so far about her, is sort of kind of seems like how she leads her whole life. But she says that being an effective leader is about fear, and that is definitely very obvious immediately. Just with like the people she kind of has lined up, and a little later she's gonna say something that she did to kind of like get them to work for her. But yeah, it kind of just shows how Bakuda like really is. She controls through fear rather than through like trustworthiness or any other good quality that a leader would have. Which makes sense that she would, given that she's a very given her power and sort of what she's able to do with it. She's definitely very mind control-y in that kind of sense. And yeah, she says that enough fear and people will stop worrying about their own interests, which I agree. Like, I think that's a very good way to put it.
Yeah, I agree as well. It's usually you see it all the time. It works on like a short term and long term scale from Real life examples.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
And then yeah, Taylor notices someone came up and like I don't think I said whispered, but I don't think it was. I think it was like a mumbled response that someone gave to Bakuda, and
mhm,
Taylor saw
mhm,
like kind of a reaction out of Tattletale from this. Obviously she didn't say anything because she can't.
mhm.
But yeah, it was definitely something that Taylor noticed, and I didn't note it that well, so that's my fault. But
That's
yeah, it
okay.
was like someone like mumbled something to Bakuda when Bakuda had asked him a question, I
Well,
believe.
let me go back to it. I think this is a sort of important moment. It might not have jumped quite out at you in the same way because you don't like already know where it's going, but it's bu- 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 Tattletale. Oh, I know it. I know how to find this. Okay. It's okay. So it's he mumbled a reply and she released him, but it goes further, doesn't it? See, I may have inherited the ABB, so she says that, and that's when Tattletale has that moment. Goes, oh, what? She didn't maybe.
Huh. Okay.
Um, but also I do want to jump back to the chat for a second so I don't go too long without it. Vale made a good joke here. Wait a second. Do you mean what do you mean escalation? I didn't notice that anywhere in this whole slice of life calm story. The Bakuda fear talk lands quite effectively with Taylor. Yes. And then 2 plus 4 times 5 said to Vale's thing, probably meant to say escalators, as in like at a mall. Um, yeah.
That's funny.
That's the theme is escalators.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that just to sort of explain to the future of Tattletale has noticed something that will yet come into play later.
Excuse me. Um.
Uh,
Yeah, and Bakuda kind of goes on a little bit. Says how she has inherited Lun's enemies because like they had worked like really closely together before like Lun had gotten captured, right?
well, the thing is that she had just been recruited, so she's only been with the gang for like a month. So
Oh.
like you wouldn't expect her to inherit the gang, and we'll of course learn later in this very chapter like how she has control over them. But but like yes, in a normal scenario where she couldn't blackmail them so thoroughly, then this would be like bizarre, you know, because
Okay,
she's
so
like a
she's kind of like the
newcomer.
Taylor of that group.
Yeah,
She's like
yeah,
the newbie, but like kind of has all the good stuff. Okay,
all the
gotcha.
good stuff. Yep, just I mean you're right about Taylor. Taylor's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely seems like she has like is like the most not like I don't know. I guess like well-rounded. I guess well-rounded in the sense that she's kind of like good at a little bit of everything.
Yeah, she's got lots of skills, and she's like she puts in the work, and she's willing to like just take huge risks because she's just totally bonkers. It's great.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah, we do love it.
Um, so Bakudo wants a Korean American like teen named Park Ji-hoo to shoot a gun at the Undersiders, like shoot one of them, and she does. I don't think she ever directly says that he needs to kill them, and she does specifically say, "In a minute, I'll make it easier. You can just shoot one of them in the arm or the leg." But in any case, she picks him and she asks him first if he's ever fought somebody or anything like that, and she specifically picks someone who like doesn't have a history of violence, and he's from the best like private. I think Christian school in the city. It's Immaculata Private High, and so she picks this guy in particular, and then gets one of her henchmen to get a camera out to record this. And then, do you wanna jump in and grab some portion here?
Yeah. Um, yeah. So Park, our lovely Park here, he's like begs to Bakura to not have him or make him shoot someone. And you can tell that he's like very not seasoned with this at all because he like holds the gun at max like arm's length, with, like 2 fingers, are like hella shaking. Definitely not like his usual kind of scenario. And so Bakuda, she's like, here, I'll even make this easy, like as you were saying. She's like, you can go ahead and shoot them in the arm or leg, and that would be good enough. And yeah, so she has the henchman with the camera, gets it fully ready, and she's like, okay, go ahead, like shoot now. Um, to which after that, he says kind of something in Korean to himself. Taylor kind of takes to herself, is like, oh, maybe that was like a prayer or kind of something along those lines, maybe he's like asking for forgiveness or whatever.
Well, because
And
he does
then
come from like the Christian high school.
yeah. So that would make a lot of sense. And then here's please, no. Then Bakuda tells him they're bad people, so it's okay to shoot the bad people.
Yeah, yeah, and that's where Bakuda is trying to play. She's obviously trying to like convince them, and she does. I mean, it's a very very brief chance, but she gives him a brief chance because she wants to, through fear, get these people to do like stuff they would normally never do, and like I think she's like breaking them into the gang with violence and stuff, and like really bringing them in forever, and like trying to make them into like hardened people and whatever. Um, and so it is unclear in the moment if she's just having like a power trip or if she's actually doing this for like a good reason. And by good I mean like, you know what I mean, not
Logical.
yeah.
Yeah, not good, but good.
Yeah.
Um,
If you want to grab
yeah.
here and just expand on your thoughts for a brief few minutes.
Yeah, so Park, good guy that he is, refused, and then, Bakuda was like, alright, well, Bakuda saying that she needs to, prove her point, as we were talking about, he gets killed for this, like, without, like, so much as a second chance, and he dies via liquid burning, which we later kind of find out that it was, like, a bomb planted inside him,
well,
which
it's
was
it's he gets vibrated into like a fluid. So like she kind of explains for a second after Regent says, like before Regent cuts her off and then loses all the extra, then she says, I modeled it off Tesla's work on vibrations. He theorized that if you could get the right frequency, you could shatter the Earth. And then she gets cut off. But
okay.
but
Okay, so yeah,
yeah,
I
so
guess
he
through
turns into
vibrations and
like a liquid, and Taylor says he looks like a soapy like puddle.
mess of just organs and what have you. Which that's a totally terrible way for someone to go out. Um, and yeah, it really kind of just reiterates again that Bakuda, she's not fucking around here. Again, proving her point. She's like, do what I say, or you're going to end up the same sort of pile of mess that Park has just become.
Well, I think part of the thing that she's using is that she says she like randomized the bombs, so different people have different, like they don't even know how they'll get killed or whatever.
Yeah, it's like Christmas morning.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's the advent calendar. Every bomb every morning when you open the little door, there's a different bomb that goes off on your fingers.
Yeah, of course.
Um, it's great, and you never know what it'll do beforehand. You know afterward. You seen it.
Yeah. um, yeah. This I thought was pretty cool though. Not like cool, but like cool how it's kind of definitely up in the ante as you were stating here. Definitely, yeah, took a very huge turn from what was originally like the issue, and now it's kind of like a whole new like spin on everything. You're like, oh fuck, like everything's kind of just changed. Like everything just got like way more serious after that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'll read a little excerpt that I'm looking at right here on the chapter that I didn't pull in, but she didn't do anything, didn't say anything, didn't offer any tell or signal. There was just a sound, like vibrating cell phone on a table, and Park Ji-hoo liquefied into a soupy mess in the span of a second. Dead. He died, just like that. It was hard to hear over the screaming, the wailing, the outraged shouts. Yeah.
Yeah, which it's crazy how she's just like that, like I don't know what's the word, unremorseless, I guess.
Yeah. She's totally Bakuda's totally remorseless. You're right. Yeah. I hadn't even thought about it like with that word, but it's true.
Yeah, she's just crazy. Which after that we hear her laugh, which they describe as like a hiss. Which I mean that's how they describe like her normal voice already, wasn't it? Kind
Yeah,
of
a
normal voice.
robotic monotone hiss is what they said, and I'm not even sure how.
How that sounds.
Yeah, I'm like trying to, because I sometimes I think I know, and sometimes I think I definitely don't know.
This is one I think I definitely don't know. Like I'm honestly
That's a no
I don't
shame,
know.
no use to me as a soldier. Yeah, I mean I don't know if that's like even close, but you know, his to address that chat that we always look away from. Greg said, I mean, that's why she's so desperate to do big moves and get rep, because she's so new and needs the respect if she's to be taken seriously. Bakuda should have given the gun to the 12-year-old. They're crazy. They'll do anything.
That is actually true.
Yeah. And then
That
2
guy
plus
is
4.
blue.
2 plus 4 times 5 said, I'm trying to think of a new way to say, she vibrated him until he melted and sprayed all over, or some other joke, but I can't figure out how to pull off the perfect innuendo.
It's a hard one. Let us know if you figure it out.
It's dicey waters there.
yeah.
I think if you want to continue here.
So I believe this was pulled from Taylor. It was a quote.
Yeah, that's her internal monologue.
Yeah, her kind of in her monologue, she says about Bakuda, if her job was to terrify, she had succeeded. Which, of course Bakuda succeeded. That girl is literally insane. Taylor has to keep herself from throwing up after seeing what just happened to Park Jin-hoo there, or Ji-hoo, because she doesn't want to like take her mask off to throw up at the fear of getting shot at, or showing her face, or obviously she just wanted to take her mask off in this scenario. And yeah, she's having like whole body shakes, kind of increasing the nausea within her. Which I can imagine being like, I guess, I can't like imagine being in this exact scenario, but like, a scenario where like, you're fully like clad in like something like that, and like you just want to throw up so bad, but you just like you can't, like it just it sounds really just awful and kind of terrible.
Yeah. 2 plus 4 times 5 explains, I think maybe a good. This is giving me a decent image in my head. I just imagine Bakuda's voice modulator thing is just sounding like when somebody talks through a walkie-talkie, so basically almost incomprehensible. And yeah, sometimes when people talk into walkie-talkies and they have like any static at all, it's just like it just like does not sound like any human language.
Yeah, it does, yeah. I
But it does
agree.
have like a robotic like static over it and everything. So yeah. And then we get our Regent moment, our Regent shocks the crowd moment. That was pretty cool, uttered Regent. And then you had added your own.
Definitely very sus. Like as soon as he started saying that, I was like, "Uh-oh, what's about to happen?" Um, and thankfully nothing happened yet, but that definitely makes me very worried about Regent.
Yeah, that he's kind of a freak.
I was already kind of worried about him, and then this just made me be like, oh, great. I had a reason to be.
Well, I wish that this is one of the things that I wish Vic was here for this week, so that we could understand Regent's motivations in this moment. Good guy Regent, such as all of the previous times when he kindly said things to Taylor in these other conversations.
Yeah.
Um, and you say here, Regent goes off on a tangent. Says he doesn't care about the science, just the idea of someone melting.
Yeah, which that's like worse than, like I don't know. It's just like all he cared about was like how cool it was that someone had just like melted like that, and I don't know if it's like him having like off or Bakuda's power, or if he's just genuinely like a psychopath, and that's just like something that tickles the right, part in his brain or whatever. But no matter whichever scenario it is, like it's definitely an issue. Um, yeah, so this definitely had me worried when I was reading it. I was like, oh god, no.
Yeah, he's going pretty crazy. I forgot this part up here. I was scrolling back down the chapter, and so when Bakuda had killed Park, then she said earlier she said the 618. I forgot I even made that one. Perfect, better than I thought. And it's like she's just so uncaring about who gets what, and it's like totally random who will die what way. And
Yeah,
she's just going wild.
just blatant disregard for human life.
Exactly. Um, and yeah, you want to take away this part?
Yeah, Bakuda kind of then explains to the group how she has, been sticking the bombs kind of like within them to as a form of control. Um, and Bakuda kind of goes on to sort of the monotony of doing it, because I think one of them like questions kind of like how she was able to do it, and she says it was just like like the actual
Super
procedure of
easy
it.
and stuff,
Yeah,
and
very simple, kind of just like she's like honestly I've gotten like bored of doing it. It's just kind of like you know twitching your fingers or something. That's like how it is for us. Like she just like really does not care. Just kind of shows like how numb she's really become to this whole process, and how she just doesn't give a fuck. um and yeah, Regent, at first I thought he was trying to play like an angle or something to play to like Bakuda's side and be like, huh, that's pretty cool or whatever. But then I kind of thought about it more. I was like, I think he's just kind of fucked up. That's my 2 cents, but maybe I'm wrong.
yeah, like if you check the chat, that's do you have that up or
Yeah. I
yeah,
see.
I
Uh, yeah, where 2 + 4 × 5 says, when I first read this, I was like, wow, Richard's really good at pretending to be a sociopath. But then later on, I was like, wait. It's
yeah.
like, wow, he's so good at that. Yeah, that's kind of how I was at first. I was like, wow, I was like, this is cool. He's like, gonna, trick her or something. Then I was like, then I kind of like finished the chapter. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, there wasn't really a trick.
It's like, I think he actually was just like, huh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely something that has me worried, and not something I'm gonna forget soon. So
Mm-mm. It's something you'll be keeping an eye on.
yes,
Yes. And then oh yeah. Regent says, "Chill the fuck out." I was just asking.
yeah.
Because he starts kind of probing her for information aside from like once he says he's into the gross, creepy, fucked up, but it's neat that whole thing. Then they kind of do a back and forth, and he's trying to suss out information almost. So it kind of seems like he has an angle, and then he says chill the fuck out.
Yeah. I think he is trying to like play like an angle and like get stuff out of her, but then I also don't think he's like 100% like playing into it. I think he's definitely like genuinely is just like, wow, that's cool, but then he's also like, well, I should get information or whatever. So maybe it's like a little bit of both.
You know, I forgot to point it out when it happened, but like way earlier in the chapter, this art happened where Bakuda hops down from the jeep and grabs the hair of a longer-haired Japanese guy in his 20s, and then she grabs him by the hair and pulls him down to go, "Isn't that right?" You know.
Oh, that's right.
Because that's the moment when Tattletale has the face change and is like, "Oh," when
Oh,
she has surprise Pikachu face.
yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Vale's gotta go. Bye, Vale.
Hi, Vale.
But yes, after and you know we can all admire that art. I think it looks great. I really like the messed up Jeep, and I
Yeah.
like how she decked it out with like a green color. And the guy with the camera, I do think it's funny how the guy with the camera kind of looks bored.
He's like, whatever.
Yeah.
How old is Bakura?
I think Bakuda's like 19 or 20, something like that.
Okay.
But I'm not sure.
It's kind of what I
But
expected. I was expecting something like that, or like
because
16, I think.
she went to Cornell,
Oh,
much
okay.
like Andy from The Office.
Right, right. Cornell
Yeah,
and Dwight.
when he wears the Cornell
Yeah.
sweater. Yeah.
um, but yeah, Bakura kind of goes on and kind of likens her bombs to like art almost. I see it as. Um, she just is very. I don't remember who it was. I think it might have been 2 plus 4 times 5 who said it. But they were saying that Bakuda is like, yeah, it was 2 plus 4 times 5, saying that Bakuda is very like theatrical or more focused on her theatrics rather than the undersiders.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I kind of just seeing her bombs as like another form of art almost.
Right, right.
Um, yeah, and then yeah, guy's still filming. And Bakuda kind of explains that with the filming, they can just like, you know, record what happens, sell it to like video or to like news sources, and kind of cut out any voices of them doing anything wrong or any them saying anything bad. Um, so kind of shows why they were recording, which is another cool little part.
Yeah, and to have like a record of their show of strength when she like kills them.
Yeah, yeah, that's always good.
And then let's see here. 2 plus 4 times 5 mentions, yeah, she was in college and presumably she got her powers then, and then Lung recruited her shortly after. Yeah, the main reason I'm like not sure is because like Kevin, who was on the podcast, his first year in college, he was 16. So, like, I don't know, people go at different ages and stuff. And she's supposed to be like a prodigy. So, it's like unclear if she's like a teenager, like 15, 16, or like a 19, 20-year old. Unclear how long she was at college. you
Right,
know,
yeah.
just seems like there's a lot of. I bet it's in the wiki. Maybe I can look up. If you want to read your next little bit that you wrote, and I will just see if they say.
Sure. Um, yeah, Baka, there's a young girl kind of amongst the ABB, and Bakura asked the young girl if she would kill someone if they wanted to. Um, Bakura, again, just kind of pushing everyone's buttons, kind of seeing how far she can go and test the limits of everyone. And I don't remember where I pulled this from, but fear is kind of the reason why Lon went out of his way to recruit Bakuda. Um, I don't know how accurate that is. I didn't really source where they got that from or who said it. But that's kind of just sort of my guess, I suppose. Because they probably just saw sort of Bakuda's whole deal of her being crazy and was like, yeah, we definitely need to recruit this person before they cause any issues for us, slash just have them on our side.
Hmm. Yeah. I think there's like more to it than that, but it's so it's like in the lung interlude in like a zillion things, and it's like kind of has flashbacks um into the section of time when he recruited her. So I'm not gonna talk about it now since it's like so wrapped up in the chapter it's in. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It'd be like such an explaining to do.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we'll get to it when we get to
Yeah.
it. And then yeah, Bakura goes Shazam, and an explosion goes off again. Lisa had seen this coming and kind of grabs Taylor's hand, and sort of kind of ducks her down, kind of tries to get her out of harm's way. And there's sort of kind of a what do you call it? A disturbance kind of within the crowd, which allows Regent to use his power to kind of disorient them further. And thanks to this whole debacle, they were able to kind of escape, barely, with their lives.
Yep, yep. And Regent looks injured after he does his little move to disarm the whole
Whoa.
crowd. It's Regent stuck out his arm, swept it outward, sending 10 or so people stumbling into one another, turning the crowd into a disoriented mob. I heard the too loud roar of guns being fired, saw Regent grab the the shoulder of a limp left arm. Couldn't be sure the two were connected. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's gross.
And then finally, there was Bakuda still sitting on the side of the Jeep. She was either shouting something or laughing. She was letting us slip from her grasp. Her people were on the verge of killing one another in a mindless panic, and she just killed at least one of her own people on a whim. From what we'd just seen of her, I was willing to bet she was laughing as it all happened. Yeah, crazy stuff. And then they run
Yeah,
away under Gru's darkness, as always.
bad person.
She is my enemy. So do you have any closing thoughts on this chapter? It's a pretty crazy moment in the story. Kind of brings us to the next little era.
Uh, yeah, very action heavy, which I like. Um, really cool to see Bakuda. I think Bakuda's a really kind of like fun character to see on screen. Because they're just she's just crazy. Like it's just always cool to kind of see. I like crazy characters who just do absolutely insane stuff. So it was really cool to see Bakuda, um, living her best life. Um,
Jeez.
but yeah, I mean, I like the chapter as a whole, and yeah, definitely a kind of a huge tone shift. I think from hanging out with my friends at the
At the loft, yeah.
yeah.
Yep, yep. Um, well, I kind of want to move into the character section. Just go through everybody real quick. We talked about, Taylor's stuff because it's her internal monologue, but Brian, super good, always on top of stuff, like able to get to his feet faster because he's like really physically capable. Um, Makes sure to keep track of like stuff in his head. Like he doesn't have a way to track stuff like Taylor, but he seems to have really good situational awareness and like the ability to think of like, okay, so if she's circling around there and like we've gone here and here, and so like he's the one making most of their moves as far as like where they go. And I know they run into ABB and stuff, but I feel like they do really well, given the circumstances.
Yeah, and even though they did run into ABB, there's like a bunch of them, so I mean it's kind of bound to happen at one point or another.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then we got Lisa. Lisa's not actually able to add very much in this fight. She like realizes something's happening like a couple times a few moments early, but like this is the most flat-footed we've ever seen her caught, I feel like. Do you kind of agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree because I feel like she's usually very much like kind of a focal character who's always talking a lot, but that was one thing about this chapter. I kind of kept forgetting that like Lisa was there until they like mentioned her. I was like, oh yeah, because like she's not talking like nearly as much as she usually does.
Yeah, since she's not allowed to talk while they're under the threat of the like mob with the guns.
Yeah.
Um, and then we got Regent. There's a lot. I feel like there's a lot going on with Regent. You
Yep.
know, there's not only his using his power super hard on that group and making them like all run into each other and fire off their guns, which is like a pretty cool um, like clutch moment, you know. Um, but there's also like him being all fucked up.
Yeah, yeah. There's also that part that we can't forget.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think it's interesting how he throws out a lot of ideas in the fight, but he's not like upset when he's told like no a bunch of times. He's just like, so what? Like, do we do this? And then like four no's, and then it's like, okay, so what do we do? And then just like keeps, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's just like trying to be like, I don't care what we do, like we just need
He's
to like do something, you know?
he's trying to yes and a plan into existence,
Yeah,
um, which is good. They need that happening.
yeah, yeah.
Um, then we've got Bakuda herself, and I did find that there is her age is unknown according to the wiki. Um,
Okay,
so we know that she,
she's
uh,
unknown years old.
yeah, unknown years old, went to Cornell, did a terrorist bombing campaign against them, new to the ABB, um, city level takeover levels of evil. Like, she's doing some pretty bad stuff. Like, in this setting, like, the more bad, like, the more, you can't gain too much notoriety because then they'll just send in the, like, really, really powerful people from other places. Um, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, yes, there's that. Um, so she's kind of upsetting the balance of power in that way. Um, and then, yeah, like, I think she's more calculated than she seems. I think she seems like really reckless and crazy, but like is on purpose trying to make people think that she's even crazier than she is.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree. Definitely crazy, but probably playing into it a little bit.
Hmm. And then there's the like ABB members themselves to talk about, like all these people who have been recently recruited and forced into the whole uh, gang thing by these bombs, which is a pretty direct threat, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
uh, like Park Jin Hoo or Ji Hoo, sorry. Um, yeah, like we don't. I don't know if we ever really learn anything else about him, but yeah, there's him, which are all these people like new recruits, or are they people who've like been here a while? Do we know?
it's like there's some ABB gang members, but then like it seems like maybe 50-50 of this crowd is people who got forcibly recruited in the last week.
Okay.
Greg says Uber and Leet should have told her to avoid getting too many stars. Getting oh yeah, that's true in the GTA sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. Um, they understand video games, so they know these things.
Yeah.
Um, but what was I gonna say? Lost my train of thought talking about ABB. Oh, these poor people. I don't know if you've seen Galaxy Quest, but
I
um,
haven't.
uh, I felt like I had something more to say about the ABB specifically, like the people who were forcibly recruited. Oh yeah. I remember. It's that it seems an awful lot like he stole the plot to Star Wars Episode One: The Phantom Menace, in which Anakin and Smee Skywalker had bombs implanted in their head, and in the words of Jake Lloyd, they'll blow you up. Boom.
Whoa.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd appreciate that Jake Lloyd reference, Quinn.
Of course.
Yeah.
You know me so well.
Well, the other day when I said Sheev and you knew who I was talking about instantly, it was good. It felt affirming.
Words of affirmation. Sheev.
Knowing Palpatine's first name, the book. I think we can move on from the characters though to the power stuff, and we don't get it exactly here, but we're starting to see that Tinkers can do like tons and tons of different things. So even though her specialty is bombs, she can kind of go all over the place with it, And yeah, I don't know. There's like tons of kind of groundwork laid for what a fight against the Tinker is going to be like, I guess.
Yeah, because we never really seen them, or because...
Well, yeah, Arms Master and Leet are both Tinkers, but Leet's a noob, and Arms Master, we haven't seen him fight.
Yeah, so I guess, that was like our first time like seeing one in action.
Mm-hmm,
and I know when you were like explaining this to me before I started reading the book, you were like, yeah, like Tinkers like do this. I was like, well, they sound like kind of like useless to someone who can just, like Lon, who can just turn into a fucking dragon. I was like, well, how's he gonna ever beat that? But and then now that I've like seen it in action, I'm like, okay, that's actually pretty scary.
If I were Bakuda and I were in a fight against Long, and I had like my choice of ammunition, I'd fire my I'd fire my time stop bomb at him later on in the fight when I can like almost certainly hit him, because then even if he's ultra undefeatable, he's still time stopped. But the danger is if he's too big, he just gets out of it before it happens, because it just, he's huge.
Yeah, true.
But so I'd probably wanna hit him with that. That seems like a sure kill if she can get him in the thing. So yeah, she's got ways to fight people like Long, even though he's super tough. And also when he's mostly human, she just like nuked him from the start, like nailed him with the very first bomb or whatever, then he couldn't really do anything to that either.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go to the discussion stuff, I think. Don't have too much more to say on this section unless you have any thoughts.
No, just cool to always see more powers, and I'm excited to see what other bad things Bakuda does.
Yeah, you'll get to see the ramping up of stakes. You'll get to see a lot of bad people for a long time. Let us read the audience participation stuff. So Megafire said to the question, because the question was, discuss what happens to Park Ji-hoo and the significance of that moment in the story. Megafire said, oh, I love this part. It's one of the most significant parts of the story, and I've talked about it a lot. It's the first on-screen death of the story, and it doesn't happen in a cool or badass way. It's just extremely shocking and traumatizing for Taylor. It's part of a trend where every time Taylor gets further into the villain life and rationalizes things to herself more, something happens like this. Or something like this happens. And then, Vale had joked, it's almost as much of a throwaway line as the mention of Professor Haywire. Which also the mention of the alternate dimensions is very like casually dropped at the beginning and then is very important later on. And then Vale had said as the full answer, it's such a tone shift. We go from fighting a scary villain, Lung, to scary heroes, Wards Plus, but as Lisa said before, there's a feeling of a game to it, in a sense. There's banter, no one appears badly injured to Taylor, and it's fun. This death ends that. Between the death and the monologue about fear and things yet to come, Taylor's trajectory changes. It also means the reader now has an idea that this is not fun cops and robbers, banter and wind kind of story. It's tense and intense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Those
that's a
are
good
both
answer.
great answers. I like both of those.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you answer if you have any more thoughts, but I think we've talked about it quite a bit. So.
Yeah, I pretty much just agree with what both of them were saying there. Yeah, Park, seeing him die, obviously I haven't seen the ramifications yet, but it seems like from what I've already heard that this is going to affect Taylor quite a bit, which makes sense that it would, seeing that would affect just about anybody, I would think. And yeah, so I'm kind of just excited to see how this unfolds a little bit more.
Yep. And so my audience participation question for when people have completed 4.9 and 4.10 is, who was the MVP of this fight? And like, it could be for either side. Who was the Pog champ? Someone asked. 2 plus 4 times 5 said, sorry, I haven't been paying much attention for the past 15 minutes. I got distracted by accidentally adding fuel to a Batman vs. Contessa debate in the r/Parahumans Discord server. My word. Stirring up a hornet's nest.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that audience participation question read, and the fact that I will put it on the Discord later, or perhaps tomorrow, etc., I'm going to start up the outro music. It was a short stream today, but that's okay. I was a little ill-prepared, and doesn't always have to be crazy long.
I also slept in way later than I meant to, so...
Well, I wasn't gonna bring that up. I was
Well, I'll take the blame for me.
Okay. So the music we're playing over the start and end for this arc is Mist over Pendle, another CO.AG music, just like the last arc. And then the author of the work being discussed can be supported on Patreon at patreon.com/wildbow. The full text of the work is available for free online at parahumans.wordpress.com. And there's a full fan-made audiobook of the entire work at audioworm.rain-online.org. These links and our Discord server link can be found in the description. And thanks, Quinn, for co-hosting with me today. And thank you, chat, for being here. I know there's only probably the two of you. I think it's just Greg and 2 plus 4 times 5. But thanks for attending, and have a nice rest of your day. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye.